As reported by Reuters and other outlets, Warren Buffett has donated a record $6 billion in Berkshire Hathaway shares to philanthropy. A lot of that money is going to the Gates Foundation. It's also going to various foundations and charitable trusts led by his children. But George, this marks Buffett's largest single annual donation since beginning his philanthropic efforts in 2006 and brings the total charitable giving to over $60 billion. And the 94-year-old billionaire has designated 99.5% of his remaining fortune to a charitable trust that will be overseen by his children. George, I think this is really interesting, right? In a time when, quite frankly, a lot of nonprofits and philanthropy in general is under duress. It's really billionaires that are kind of underwriting a significant portion of our infrastructure. And I think you're getting different models for that here. You have the Warren Buffett model. You have the Mackenzie Scott model, which kind of upended what no strings attached giving looked like. And George, just as a little aside, I'm reading a book by Ken Roth, the former executive director of Human Rights Watch, who talked about working with George Soros in the 90s on some of George Soros's early philanthropy or early charitable giving, where, Ken Roth approached George Soros and said, can you give us a donation? And Soros responded, I'll give you $10 million over 10 years and completely transform your organization. And I think that now more than ever is the time when bold philanthropic choices are needed. So cool to see this from Buffett. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how billionaire philanthropy shapes up over the next couple of years.
We're looking at the creation of a new philanthropic dynasty, and one that, if it follows traditional models, will be self-perpetuating for decades, century to come. And, I think his children have been exposed to philanthropy over a period of time. My hope is that they grow wiser in their approaches, and you can dig into that. This is all public knowledge of what happens when you suddenly change your mind, for instance, about a commitment to a cause, to a community without the runway. Oftentimes, you can ultimately do potentially more damage when you suddenly say, hey, school system, this was just an experiment, it didn't work, and now we're done. Looking at the Newark school systems and Mark Zuckerberg's foray into let's go fix education with a pile of money ended up not working well. I will say probably a net positive, but it'd be a curious conversation to have versus what would a more measured approach, money over time, as you were mentioning, with predictable commitment that help them grow. There are ways of doing harmful philanthropy. But this is the next philanthropic dynasty, and it's worth a touch of research. For me, it was less about that, hey, here's this sudden $6 billion gift. It was hey, what was that small fine print there? Oh, the creation of the next philanthropic dynasty that's going to be self-perpetuating for the next number of decades, and 3 people that are going to be in charge of allocating that money. That feels curious to me.
George, I feel a new Succession coming on, huh? Succession philanthropy.
Oh my gosh, we need that. He did Mountainhead, right? Mountainhead was fantastic. He needs to do Philanthropic Mountain. All right, well, we'll workshop that.
We'll work on that with our screenwriters.